Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about people. If you remember, I put a link to my people under daily prayers, and I'm going to do a double page spread today under people for my people. I'm going to go with the theme of a tree, so I've gathered some materials, some tissue paper, some tissue paper from patterns, sewing patterns, an old newspaper from 1933, and just some regular craft paper. I decided to go with a family tree theme for this since it's my people and it's people that I am in relationship with as a family. So I'm making a tree trunk and I'm just adding layers of tissue paper. And the people that I'm going to put on this page are just going to be my immediate family. But my immediate family is people that I want to remember to pray for every day, including my husband, my kids, and my grandkids. So I'm going to build up all these layers with, this is brown tissue paper, just building up the layers. Now I'm adding some of the tissue paper that comes in patterns. I have lots of old patterns. So I'm just ripping that up and laying that down. And I'm liking the way it's looking. It's starting to develop into a tree. And then I decided to add some of the newspaper pieces to it, just random spots. Again, just building this up. It's mostly going to be in the background, I think. So I'm just continuing to build it up until I get to a place that I feel like it works for me. You don't have to be this elaborate. You don't have to be this detailed, but this is what I did for my tree. Next, I'm going to coffee dye a piece of cardstock that looks like a manila folder, about that color. I'm just adding coffee to it, spraying it on there, but I don't want it to have like a spray pattern. So instead I'm going to use my sponge and spray my sponge and then rub that on, tap that on, just add up layer after layer of coffee to my paper. And now the paper is going to get wet as I do this, and there's different ways you can dry it. You can dry it in the oven on a very, very low setting, or I'm going to show you, I just stick mine in the microwave for about 20 seconds and it dries out just fine. Next, I used a ramekin to make circles on my paper. I did 6 circles, and I'm going to rip those out. I put shoe polish around it, and then I began to make rings with the children's names, my kids, their husbands, their children on it. And when I went to place it in my book, it seemed like it was too big. So I'm going to rip that down and do the process over again. I'm going to end up with 5 of these circles, one for each of my 4 kids, and then one for my husband and myself. It includes their names, their spouses' names. I'm going to continue to make these until I have 5, one for each of my kids and one for my husband and I. Add their names, their children's names, their spouses' names. I'm adding lines to my tree and some branches so that I can write out the things that I want to pray for them, for their finances, for their relationship with God, for their health, for their ministries, just all the things that I can think of that I want to pray for them. And the last thing I'm going to do is just add some butterfly stickers because, I love butterflies. I did add a few more branches to my tree just because I thought it made it look interesting. But you don't have to do nearly, again, as much as what I do. I just want to give you guys some inspiration. If you want to journal like this, bottom line is make a tree, or not a tree, but make a page that inspires you to pray for those that are nearest and dearest to you, your people. And that's it for my people. Continuing in the people section, I'm going to do extended family. Continuing the theme of a tree, I'm going to use branches, and I have some pressed flowers that I took some leaves from my herb garden and some from outside and pressed them between wax paper. I'm going to glue those down with Mod Podge. You have to be very delicate with these. They're very fragile, so I'm just brushing it on with a brush, the Mod Podge, and then laying it down. If you want to make it even more secure, you can put Mod Podge over the top as well. I'm adding some little curly cues, and then I'm going to take some pieces that I have a whole stick of branches. I'm using for this, instead of Mod Podge, because there's so many pieces, I'm using tacky glue or spray adhesive. I'm getting a garbage bag, a new one every time, putting the sprig in there and spraying it with the adhesive, and then taking that out and placing it in my book. It's a little messy, but it's my preferred way of putting in dried flowers because it holds so well. Now I'm adding names of the extended family members to the one side of the page, and I'm just going to continue with extended family members on the other and build that up day by day as I think of people, as I pray for people, build that up. Next, we're going to do a page in our people that are gatekeepers. I heard Sister Bonnie Marshall speak about this, and gatekeepers are people in your city that are influential because their influence affects what comes in and what goes out of your city. So I'm just listing a couple here. Ludacris is one I've been praying for a long time, and Shelley and Louis Giglio. Next, I'm going to do a page in here to pray for my enemies. Now I'm making it an envelope because I want this to be secret. I don't need everybody to know who I'm praying for here. I took an envelope, turned it inside out. Just about any business envelope that you get, you can do this with. It's a cool little thing. It's got an interesting pattern on the inside. Covered up all the seams with washi tape, put a butterfly sticker on, and now I'm just typing out the word enemies, and I'm going to put that on there, and then I'm going to create just a label that I could write someone's name on and put inside of here. It's important that we pray for our enemies, not that God will just heap coals on their head, but pray for them to be blessed, strengthened, helped. In praying for our enemies, we are more like Christ. So that's it for people.